All right, good morning, everyone. Hope you have a great day today. It's Thursday, October 29th, and I welcome you all to this edition of Mornings with the Manager. Um, as you all know, the big event next week is the showdown of the election between Mayor Clyde and uh, Timothy Barrett, and also the showdown between Council Member Alan Hoffa and Dan Albert, plus other council applicants running for a council seat, Zoe Carter, Hunter Garrison, as well as Gabriela Chavez. So we really looking forward to that election, and of course, we're looking also at the national election. What is interesting for all of you to know is 37% of California has already voted. 37%. That is a very, very good number, and is kind of the trend also nationwide that a lot of early voting takes place in the county of Monterey. I can tell you that over 90,000 ballots have been already processed. That compares to the same time 4 years ago to around 28,000 ballots. So 2016 presidential election, we had 28,000 ballots, and today, 2020 election, over 90,000 ballots have been already processed. So they have been already counted in the background. And as always, a reminder that we have an official ballot drop box in front of the Monterey Public Library. And we also heard from the county election office that that box is always very full, and they are adding actually additional service hours there to empty that box and bring it back to the county election office. And as you've heard also numerous times in the media, United States Postal Service is probably not right now the reliable way of submitting your ballots. It is highly encouraged to drop a ballot box into the official mail drop box, but also vote in person then to make sure that your vote gets counted. So with that, I want to go to the next topic that I wanted to discuss with you today. That is going over the COVID numbers briefly. We the county is still trending, or is still in the purple tier, widespread. So that's the lowest tier that you can be in, meaning a lot of things are still closed. Restaurants have to operate outdoors. Gymnasiums are closed. Sports center, conference center remains closed, recreation centers, etc., etc. So we are still in the tier that prohibits a lot of things, and that's based on the numbers that we have. And when you look at the daily numbers that the Monterey County Health Department is publishing, you see that there is a kind of always a fluctuation. Some quote unquote good days, you have just a little over 20 cases, and on other days you have a little over 60 cases and 70 cases. What that actually does is that our numbers are fluctuating just a little bit too much, and we will still remain in the purple tier for the next couple of weeks, for the foreseeable future. While you see that Santa Cruz County on Tuesday went into orange, from red into orange, which is the next tier for them. Here in Monterey, I cannot foresee any changes in the immediate let's say immediate future. Just leave it like that. So we are really struggling still in the purple tier. New testing facilities have been implemented on the Monterey Peninsula, and we fought very hard for that. Your local elected officials worked very hard together with the supervisor to get a testing center here onto the Monterey Peninsula. We have one in Seaside right now, and I highly encourage, if you have reasons to be tested, go there. You can sign up online, but they also do walk-ins. You find information of that, of course, on the Monterey County Health Department website. I want to the aquarium tried to get open. That is correct information. The aquarium was basically discussing with state health official to treat the aquarium like an indoor mall and allow operation inside at a certain capacity level. I believe it was 25%. The state has declined and has said no, the aquarium has to remain closed right now. And I can share with you that the aquarium also continues to discuss that with the appropriate uh, authorities in Sacramento. And it's if you hear about Disneyland, Universal Studios, etc. These are amusement parks, of course. These are not aquariums, but the state is very hesitant to have large venues open and allow people to mix inside or potentially mix inside. So, yes, the aquarium has been contacting the state to open up aquariums statewide, not just the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And as you know, there's a large aquarium in Long Beach. And so those aquariums also try to lobby for the causes jointly. However, there has been no solution yet with respect to the aquarium. So stay tuned on that, and I'm very sure that if something changes there, we will all be notified through the appropriate channels. COVID-19 also, early on in March, the Governor Newsom, issued an order for all the homeless folks, and his order was basically stating that the homeless have to shelter in place as well. And now consider this: homeless folks shelter in place means that wherever they quote unquote lived, that would be their shelter. And what with that order also, the governor invalidated local ordinances that which disallow, for instance, overnight camping in beaches or in parks. The city of Monterey has an ordinance that prohibits sleeping on the beach. However, with the order from the governor early in March, that he issued in March with respect to shelter in place, what that in effect resulted in was tying our hands in enforcing our overnight camping ordinances. And so we receive input from residents that walk the beach, Del Monte Beach, for instance, and say, hey, we see tents there. There's a lot of litter. There's a lot of dirt associated with that. Why are you allowing that? Well, the reason for that is simply we are under the order of the governor to basically allow folks that are homeless shelter in place wherever they are sheltering in place right now. And you see that is also a challenge in highway, alongside of highways, highway off-ramps, Del Monte off-ramp, for instance, you see some sort of encampments there as well. What that also has brought us to is that we had to allocate additional resources to clean up the beach areas, for instance. We hear loud and clear the complaints by our residents who pointing to those issues, just as I stated, litter, etc. And we have allocated additional resources to keep the beaches and the parks clean. This is a challenge, and we are really trying to figure out the best way in ensuring that we are in compliance with the governor's order, but also to ensure that our beaches are litter free. And with that, of course, litter goes into the bay, and of course we want to protect also the wildlife there. But rest assured, we hear you loud and clear, all those folks that have issued us emails or letters and have remarked about that. We do whatever we can do within the framework of the letter of the law, and that's what we are trying to accomplish there. I wanted to share with you also that the discussion is moving towards the winter time now with respect to COVID-19. And with that, some of the questions that are popping up is okay, what are we doing with the restaurants? The restaurants are operating, as you can see, in outdoor spaces. Purple tier does not allow to go inside, and the restaurants, of course, are dependent on the weather. If you are sitting outdoors and it's raining and windy, you like to enjoy your meal with something over your head and some warmth with that as well. So that will be a challenge. We offered parklets on in several areas, in downtown Monterey on Alvarado Street, maybe even Webster, maybe Cali Principal. We also offered to use parklets on Cannery Row or any other areas. As a city, we want to ensure that our restaurants are staying alive and staying open. And but we haven't been very successful that the businesses have not really embraced the idea of using parklets. So when you go on Alvarado Street, you see that our businesses are using the sidewalks, but they are not really using the offer that we gave them to expand into the parking areas, the parklet areas. That's different in Pacific Grove. That's different in Carmel. Pacific Grove, of course, has a wider street on Lighthouse Avenue there than we have on Alvarado Street. But Carmel is kind of similar, and they have really embraced that principle more. So we keep discussing that, and I want to assure you that as a city, we are doing everything that we can do to allow businesses to move out into parklets, maybe put some sort of a tent structure over it, and maybe also add some heaters inside so that at the end you have also something during the winter time. But again, it takes two to tango, and the city is ready to dance with them. However, like I said, so far we didn't have a lot of takers. Lollapalooza on Alvarado Street might be interested in creating a parklet, but all the other restaurants right now on Alvarado Street, for instance, are still trying to find an answer to that. And of course, when you create parklets, other businesses are opposing parklets. These are the businesses that are depending on quick transactions. So, for instance, you want to rush into Walgreens and pick up your prescription and you want to get out again. And the expectation from those businesses is that there's also parking available in the immediate vicinities of those businesses. And when we discuss, or when the businesses among themselves discuss the pros and cons for parklets, parking is always a topic that comes up from those businesses that require a quick transaction. Java Juice is one of them. Walgreens, I mentioned that already, is another one. Revival Ice Cream, other shops, basically a lot of small transactions where you really do not stay a long time inside, you go in and out. Those businesses need to be considered as well. And I think from the policy that the city of Monterey has, we are listening very careful to the whole business community, and we want the business community to tell us what works for them and what doesn't work for them. It's not our job to prescribe to them how to run their businesses. So the parklet discussion is still going on. I just wanted to touch base with you on that so that you understand why things look differently in Monterey than they look in PG and in Carmel. And again, we had outdoor seating long time before COVID. We had the area in front of Chibo's. We have the area in front of Sir Burger. We had some area in front of the old Monterey Cafe, and so we already allowed outdoor seating and using parklets long time before COVID-19 hit. But other options are now available for other restaurants, and we just have to wait and see what they want to do. And with that, I think you understand our approach, hopefully a little bit better. Um, so that's what I wanted to talk about the COVID-19. issue. That the numbers in our CHOMP hospital are looking low right now. I think the latest is that there's one case in the ICU and another set of maybe 4 patients in a CHOMP right now. Are our numbers trending up? I don't think so, not right now. It needs to be seen if the general trend that we see across the state and across the country, with a slight uptick in California and a large uptick in other states, will be reflective here in Monterey as well. Like I always tell you, our main priority of your council and the city is to really look out for public health first and foremost. That's our overriding principle, and everything else will fall into place after that. I wanted to talk to you about the city budget briefly. We got the sales data for the second quarter submitted by the state to us. The second quarter is basically April, May, June, and as expected, that is a real hit to our budget, because that was the classic shelter-in-place months. These were the shelter-in-place months where we all stayed home, where we all ordered in from all different groups, all different merchants, and sales tax is down in that quarter by 52%. So that was a real hit for us, but we expected that. The TOT for July and August this year, so July 2020 and August 2020, was also down by 63%. And so August, to a degree, was kind of hindered also by the fires that we had. And a lot of people stayed away from the peninsula because, again, our air quality was really dismal. And with that, of course, you can expect that not just the hotel tax is down, but also the sales tax is down, because people, if they are not coming to Monterey, they also are not purchasing souvenirs or meals or other things in Monterey. What we also see is a trend to online shopping, and that all makes sense for all of us, because we want to be protected when we shop for certain things. And so I think a lot of consumers have shifted their behavior towards online shopping. But what you need to realize is, even though you pay a local sales tax, in the end, the sales tax does not reach the city of Monterey as if you purchase in a brick and mortar store. Our allocation from the sales tax distribution pool, and that's the way the state then distributes the sales tax back to the communities, has actually dropped. And so we keep on losing significantly also on the sales tax that is being collected online. And that is a challenge for us. That's actually larger than we expected. And what we need to do over the next 6 to 12 months, we need to go to the state and change that distribution pool formula, because frankly, it really significantly disadvantages communities like ours, where a lot of folks are shopping online, and we do not just get the sales tax back. So we're losing about 80% of sales tax just through online sales, and that's quite a lot of money. And when you look at your own consumer behavior right now and review what you have ordered online over the past months or so, you will see that losing 80% of the sales tax revenues again will hurt us. And with that, what will hurt us, of course, is funding for a lot of the services that we are providing. And so we will keep a close eye on those numbers as well. Business license tax, also, we are in the phase right now where a lot of businesses are renewing, and no surprise there. Some businesses have closed shop. A lot of business actually have closed shop also in Monterey. And the business license tax is down about 13% right now. That number may trend upwards a little bit, meaning it may go better from 13% maybe to down just 10%, because some of the license taxes are still outstanding and we are still collecting. But Again, also that main tax, business license tax, is trending, of course, in the negative right now. Last but not least, I emphasize that always because we shouldn't forget about that. The closed facilities are not bringing in certain revenues. And when you look at the conference center, we expected actually to have some modest revenues there of $2.7 million. And we get those revenues of $2.7 million by renting out the conference center, but by also getting sales commission on lunches that are hosted there, or dinners or breakfasts. We get sales commission from AV, audio visual, that is used during the conferences, etc. We estimated we would have a revenue stream of around $2.7 million in the conference center. And we had hoped that the conference center would be open next quarter, meaning this quarter, actually, October, November, December, sometime around this. It doesn't look like it. We think, hopefully, that maybe by April we have some business back, but we need to adjust that number downwards again. So we will not have $2.7 million in revenues at the conference center. And also sports center. We thought that we make about $3 million in our recreation programs. Usually that number is something like $9 million. But as you can tell, we are still closed everywhere. And so those numbers also are trending downwards. We have basically something like $10,000 or $12,000 in the bank right now in revenues that we made with the sports center when it was open for 3-4 weeks. So again, while we had hoped that the sports center would be open by October, and we had hoped that some of our recreation programs had reopened, none of that has happened yet, just because, again, we are in the purple tier. So with that, I wanted to let you know we are monitoring the numbers very, very carefully. We have built in parachutes into our budget, but again, there may be the time where we run out of parachutes. So in December, we will count our revenues. We will look at our expenses, and we are trending good on the expenses. So we are not going over the budget. We are actually slightly below what we projected to spend. So there are certain cost savings. But having said all that, December will be probably an interesting milestone for us, because we will be looking at those numbers and figure out what we are doing based on collections and based on expenses and projections. So that, again, was part of my briefing for you about the budget. And of course, the budget depends on the general health data and the COVID-19 developments with respect of reopening of our state, our county, and our city. So we stay tuned, and we expect that sooner or later things will turn with respect to opening to fall to the better, but it will be a very, very slow recovery. It's very clear for us that a lot of consumers, a lot of participants on conferences, etc., they have really shifted their consumer behavior. And you see that also, that I'm talking to you from my home office and not really from my office. We have telecommuting installed also at City Hall. A lot of our team members are switching between being in the office and working from home, and all that behavior will probably continue to a certain degree. So again, thank you for listening to me going on and on about the budget, but I feel it's interesting for all of us to know where we are trending in the city of Monterey, because at one time, you will realize that certain services that we took for granted, we just simply cannot provide anymore. And as I stated to you, priority for us right now is to remain responsive in all aspects of public safety and public works. And those priorities are still our main priorities right now. And everything else, we have to figure out how we deal with that. Having said that, I want to talk about last week, Tuesday's council meeting. I always talk about what we did and what we will do. last week's council meeting, we had three proposals in front of the council, or three project descriptions. And at that time, we just presented to the council three projects that were talking about housing proposals. And we actually, for that evening, discussed to table those housing proposals, and the council also tabled those housing proposals because we had received some input from the public that made us basically ask the council to table it. But we solicited public comments, and a lot of public comments came forward with that. Those projects, two projects, were on the Del Monte Avenue corridor, and they would have affected general policies with respect to the general plan, with respect to windows on the bay. And we received a lot of input about that. And also, one other project was up on the hill close to the city's old Capitol site, not on the old Capitol site, but in that vicinity. Barnett Siegel Drive is the address around there. And there is a property owner who owns a considerable amount of property, and it is zoned already for residential housing. And that property owner wanted to propose a rezoning of his acreages there to residential housing, and probably building there about 200 housing units. And so we also had a pretty robust discussion about that site particularly. And ultimately, the council tabled all three housing concept proposals or projects descriptions, and with that we moved on to the next topic for that night, which I don't recall anymore. But it was interesting to listen to the public and to hear all the public input and the concerns about that. And of course, all those housing proposals can come forward through formal applications through the city of Monterey. So please stay tuned, follow that discussion, and make your voices heard if this comes forward. With that, next week, Tuesday, will be a very, very short council meeting, and that is kind of a tradition. When we have presidential elections, we will just have an afternoon session. We'll start at 4 o'clock, and I tell you that that session really looks like a lot of routine stuff that really is appropriate for just an afternoon session and doesn't warrant an evening session. So elected officials are always eager on election night to go home and watch the election results coming in. Next week, Tuesday, is no different than that. And you guys will probably all do the same. We'll be glued to the TV sets and watch how the Monterey election is going, and maybe also are interested a little bit in the national election. So with that, again, thank you so much for listening. I hope that I provided a good overview of what we are doing and what we plan on doing. I appreciate always that you guys are listening to me, and I also appreciate it so much when someone sends me an email and says, "Hey, I just want to let you know this is not going nice in the city, and by the way, I keep watching you," and it's always very informative. So I'm very appreciative of all of that. And stay healthy, stay safe, and I hope to see you again in 2 weeks, and we'll see what the country looks like in 2 weeks. With that, thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye-bye.